Hey everybody, how you doing? This is about to be a really fun video. Remington just came out with their latest cartridge, the 360 Buckhammer. If you haven't heard of it, where have you been? And if you haven't heard of it, now you heard of it. But it's a straight wall cartridge. I've been getting tons and tons of questions up and down and left and right about the ballistics of Remington's new 360 Buckhammer. I've done quite a few videos on it already. Chronograph stuff. I took a whitetail with it on video. I did 100-yard group tests with it on video. I compared it on clay against the 4570. We've been doing a bunch of videos on the new 360 Buckhammer. But I constantly, every single day since this thing has been announced, I've been flooded with questions on the details of the specifics of the ballistics of the 360 Buckhammer. So here is what we are going to do today. We're going to dive deep, y'all. We're going to go real deep. We're going to nerd out on a bunch of numbers. I just spent the last hour or so crunching a bunch of numbers on a bunch of different cartridges that we're going to compare to the 360 Buckhammer. I've got numbers on drop rates, and I've got numbers on energy rates. So how quickly are these bullets dropping, and how much energy are they carrying out? Really, in your head, you probably would pick the one that is a good mix of energy and drop. So you might have one that is super flat but doesn't carry energy out, or you might have one that tanks that carries energy out. Let's just look at the numbers before I start rambling too much into this. The numbers is the facts, and that's what we're going to talk about. But Remington's marketing, in a lot of their marketing materials, are saying it's similar ballistics to a 30-30. So on paper, that's what I started to compare it to, is the 30-30. But then I was like, you know what? A bunch of you guys have also been asking me about, well, how does it compare to the 35 Remington? So the 360 Buckhammer is using a 358 diameter projectile. So a bunch of people have been asking, what about the 35 Remington? If you love 35, you love 35. It's all good. I got the 35 Remington numbers in here. I got the 30-30 Remington numbers in here. 30-30 Winchester. I've also got 450 Bushmaster. That's another straight wall. I've got 4570 numbers in here, straight wall. And I've got 350 Legend numbers in here. So let's take a look at the bullet drop here. Let me show you what I've done. So the 360 Buckhammer is being loaded in the 180 grain and a 200 grain core locked. Then on here I've got 150 grain core locked for 30-30 Winchester and a 170 grain. Then for the 35 Remington, I got 150 grain and 200 grain core lock. For the 450 Bushmaster, Remington is loading a 260 grain core locked. Then the two 4570 core lock loadings in the 405 grain, two different speeds. And then Remington doesn't load the 350 Legend, so I put in numbers here from the Federal Power Shock, which is a 180 grainer. You can see I've got all the muzzle velocities and all the ballistic coefficients on the chart there. Now, I put the numbers in here. Everything's sighted in at 100. So we're clear. We're starting dead nuts. Everything's the same. And let's look at the colors. So what do these colors mean? Green means good, red means bad. We're talking about bullet drop. So green in this chart means it's the flattest. So if we simply look at 150 yards, which one of these loadings is the flattest? Well, it is the 150 grain 30-30 core lock. Drops 2.4 inches at 150 yards when it's sighted in at 100 yards. What's the worst, just for the sake of looking at it, is the low power 4570 there. Close to the bottom. You can see that low power 4570, man. It's just bright red. It drops the fastest at all distances. So then let's go out to 200 yards. what's the least amount of drop? Well, it's still that 150 grain 30-30 Winchester core lock. But let's take a look at the 360 Buckhammer. That's kind of the whole point of this video. At 200 yards, the 180 grain Remington core lock has almost the exact amount of drop as that 150 grain 30-30 Winchester. The 7.8 inches of drop versus 7.6 inches of drop. And then, I'm not going to talk about every single square in this whole chart. You guys can freeze it and look at all these numbers. But at 200 yards, you can see that low power 4570 is already dropping 2 feet. Wow. And then, if you look at the 35 Remington, let's just call that out quick. It drops a lot too. Maybe there'll be some saving grace when we talk about the energy here. So we're also going to talk about energy in the same fashion of every single one of these loadings. So super interesting data. Let's still park on 200 yards because in my perspective, any of these cartridges, you really don't have any business hunting past 200 yards. If that's what you got to do, and you're in a straight wall state, maybe I could see a little bit further than 200. But really, with these cartridges, get within 200 yards of that deer. 300 yards is a stretch for any single one of these. But let's go back to 200 yards because me personally, I think that's the maxes that you should be slinging these things. 360 Buckhammer and the 30-30 absolutely win the entire thing when it comes to bullet drop. If you look at the 35 Remington there, it's yellow, which is telling us it's not the worst, but it's bad, and it's dropping fast. At 200 yards, both of the 200 grain is dropping almost a foot, and then the 150 grain 35 Remington is dropping 8.5. Not terrible, but not the best. Let's go out to 300 yards. What's the winner at 300? It is still the 30-30 Winchester. But if you look at that 180 grain 360 Buckhammer, it is still right there within a fraction of an inch, toe to toe with the 30-30 Winchester, out to even 300 yards. So, straight wall cartridge, that is impressive. 300 yards, you can see the 350 Legend, the 450 Bushmaster, they're dropping, where the 360 Buckhammer is still staying with that 30-30 Winchester. I've got these numbers all the way out to 550 yards. Interesting to look at. The 360 Buckhammer stays toe-to-toe with the 30-30 Winchester from a bullet drop perspective all the way out to almost 350 yards, which, like I said, my personal opinion, if you are deer chasing with any of these cartridges, I don't think you should take them past 200. Can it be done? Yes. I've got a video with the 360 Buckhammer slapping steel at 450 yards over and over and over. So yes, we know the drop right here. This is good data. You can use this and you could go out to, 500 yards and take your 350 Legend and hold 150 inches high and you'll hit that steel. You know what I'm saying? We did it in a video with the 360 Buckhammer. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. It's kind of fun to nerd out on this stuff. Once you know the drop, that's it. That's your holdover. Pretty cool stuff. Normally we're doing this with stuff like, I don't know, 338 Lapua, 6.5 Creedmoor, the PRC stuff. Nobody really talks about these cartridges at long distances, but it's fun to look at the drop rates like we're looking at it here. But if you want to look at these, splice it up however you want, freeze this and check it out. Now, let's look at the energy. What has the most energy? So at the muzzle, 450 Bushmaster and 4570 have the most energy. You might have guessed that. A lot heavier boot lot. Go out to 100 yards. The 4570 and the 450 Bushmaster still are winning. Go to 150. The 4570 is still winning. 4570 has the most energy across the board at all distances. But at the same time, it's dropping the quickest. So energy, most energy, and also the most drop. But we're talking about the new 360 Buckhammer, so let's kind of key in on that. At 100 yards, the 360 Buckhammer 180 has 1266 foot-pounds. The 200 grain is 1407, which the 200 grain has more energy than the 30-30 Winchester at 100 yards. So we talked about the 360 Buckhammer is pretty much toe-to-toe when it, from a drop rate perspective out to 300 some odd yards. Well, the 360 Buckhammer has more energy than the 30-30 Winchester. So from a drop perspective, about the same. But the 360 Buckhammer has more energy, at least at 100 yards. Let's keep going. We go to 150 yards. Now, the 30-30 Winchester energy is crossing. So the 180 grain Buckhammer has 1015 at 150 yards, 1126 for the 200 grain, and then you see the 30-30 there, 1060 and 1160. And then you can see the 35 Remington. It's red. That means it has the worst energy. So me, 35 Remington's kind of like nostalgia. Like if your grandpa had one, cool. But if you're kind of new to the game, I really don't know based on this why anyone would go pick up a 35 Remington. But hey, I like having one of everything. So I need to get one too. I've actually got some 35 Remington sitting on here on the shelf. I need to go get me one of these lever guns that's chambered in it. But all in all, guys, again, you can freeze this chart here with the energy. The whole point, what I wanted to do is put on paper, if you guys ask me these questions again about drop or about energy, we got it here. And you guys can freeze this and check it out. But here's the drop and the energy charts out to 550 yards for a 360 Buckhammer, 30-30 Winchester, 35 Remington, 450 Bushmaster, 4570, and the 350 Legend. Appreciate y'all watching. Share this with your buddies when they have questions. I really enjoy looking at this stuff, and I learned some stuff putting all this together. Hope y'all did too. Appreciate y'all watching. Stay tuned for more videos. Comment down below what you want to see next time. Appreciate y'all. We'll see you on the next one. Let me know what you think about Remington's new 360 Buckhammer now that we have all this data to look at. Appreciate y'all. Whoteewho!